Another reading of Mehera-Meher, chapter 99. 10,000 Contacts is the title. And Deb will start reading.
Thank you. Before the new life began, Baba had promised Elizabeth to visit America on condition that the new life be continued there and that she pay the expenses of Baba and those going with him. Baba had already written to Elizabeth through Duncan that he would come whenever she invited him, but he had suggested July 1950. The new life has to be continued endlessly, irrespective of whether I stay in the East or the West, he stated. On 4 February 1950, he informed the men companions of his tentative plans to visit the West. Baba also cautioned the men about maintaining their moods, despite doubts and suspicions, especially in regard to those who might be chosen to go to the West, which had caused some jealousy among the men in the past. Besides planning a trip to the West, Baba was preparing to attend the Kumbh Mela in Hardwar, the ostensible goal of their walking pilgrimage. Erich had inspected a cottage in Motichur, 4 miles from Hardwar, which could be used as Baba's headquarters during his stay. Baidul had been sent to make inquiries about the camps of sadhus around Rishikesh and Hardwar. In compliance with government regulations, Baba and the men companions were inoculated for typhoid and cholera, and since Baba would also take the women to the Kumbh Mela, Gohar later inoculated them as well. Baba's 56th birthday was celebrated in Manji Mafri on 12 February. Naja, who had arrived 2 days before, with help from the ladies, made rava as per Baba's wish. Govind Leila, a neighbor of Kumar's, prepared bhujias, halva, and tea. Leila had also prepared only enough for the men and women companions, using 2 kilos of onions, 2 kilos of potatoes, and 1 kilo of rava for the halva. But some village children showed up, as well as 20 to 30 Baba lovers from Dehradun, including the Nalavala family. Baba lavishly dished out food to each, and miraculously it fed all. On 26 February, the cottage outside Manjri Mafi village was finally ready, and Baba moved there with the 5 women. The huts for the men were still not completed, so the men stayed at the Mahants a few days more. As mentioned, Baba and the women's cottage was small, consisting of 2 rooms, a veranda, and a bathroom. There was a narrow veranda that was made much broader with a lattice enclosure for safety, Meru related. The rooms were only big enough for 2 string cots in one room and a tight fit for 3 cots in the other, where Gohar, Naja, and I stayed. One part of the veranda had been walled off into a room with a window for Baba. The rest of the veranda served as an area for eating and to store the luggage. The lattice work on the veranda also was meant to allow in light, which was fine, except it also let in the cold. Baba's room was particularly small, with just enough room for his bedding and for Mehra and Meru to walk around it when they made his bed in the morning. Sometimes they took the bedding outside to air in the sun. The kitchen, too, was small, a grass hut with barely enough room for Naja and one other to help her cook. For breakfast, however, all 5 of them and Baba scrunched inside. Because it was so cold, they did not mind being crowded together. After going to the men companions, Baba returned to the kitchen as usual around 8 o'clock, sat down, and watched them work, asking, "Is the food ready yet?" Sometimes, however, when Baba was in seclusion in his room and wanted silence, they had to be careful not to make the slightest sound, even while cooking. They were not to bang the pots together. Everything had to be done with utmost caution. Baba's order for silence was their only thought. This was our meditation, Naja observed. The women stayed at Manjri Mafi for 2.5 months. It was a very nice day, Mehera recalled, a happy atmosphere. We could hear birds singing sweetly nearby. Baba went for long walks sometimes. Don's dispensary in Dehradun was set up in a house across the street from the Nalawala's home. On 28 February, an opening ceremony was held at the clinic. Baba attended with the men and women companions, and lovers from the vicinity also came. Baba distributed cakes, pastries, and rava. About the clinic, Mehera remembered, it was lovely, like an English sitting room, but there were no patients. At Mandri Mafi, Baba had tea with the women in the afternoons at 2 p.m. Once or twice, their neighbor, Subhadra, was invited, along with a few of the other women lovers from the area. Baba sat on an upholstered chair with Mehera nearby and others on the carpet. Mehera was usually quiet, focusing always on Baba, but once she asked Subhadra why she yawned so much. Baba answered for her, "Because Subhadra is working in the fields from morning to evening. This is her nap time, but she comes here instead, so she was always yawning." Mehera asked Subhadra if she knew any English, which she did not. Then Mehera asked whether she knew how to sew, and again Subhadra said that she did not. So Mehera told Mani to teach her English, and Subhadra did learn the ABCs. Mani also cut out a sadra, which Mehera gave to Subhadra, allowing her to sew it for Baba. Not on a machine, but by hand. One day, Baba asked Subhadra, "How do you find Mehera?" Subhadra replied, "She is lovely, Baba. I feel drawn towards her." Subhadra was impressed how Mehera and the other women cooked so carefully for Baba, as if cooking for God. It was the same with making Baba's bed. Everything for Baba, she observed, was done with such love and care. Subhadra had not been told specifically that Mehera was special, but she could sense it. For instance, the other women deferred to Mehera to ask permission to give anything to someone, and Mehera frequently distributed Baba's leftover food to others as prasad. Also, if Baba were alone in his room, Mehera could look in on him and report whether he was resting. Once, when Baba was not present, Mani explained to Subhadra privately that Mehera was like Radha. And there was a sidebar on the previous page, page 506. The Nalavalas had been extremely helpful in dealing with the workers who did the whitewashing and other repair work that Don needed for Don's dispensary in Dehradun. On 3 March, just tell me when you want me to quit, okay?
Keep reading till you're tired, my love.
Pardon? Oh, when I'm tired, okay. On 3 March, Baba and most of the men companions moved to Motichur, leaving Vishnu, Nilu, Kaka, and Kaikabad in Mandri Mafi. Nilu looked after the women's requirements, while Vishnu, assisted by Kumar, did the grocery shopping. Sidebar: Kaikabad had been residing in Mandri Mafi for 5 months prior to Baba's arrival. Naja cooked for the women and for those Mandali in Mandri Mafi, with the other women helping. In addition, a young boy of 13 or 14 named Dilip was hired to help around the house. He did some of the chores, helping Naja with the housework and Meru with the chapatis, and they found the lad quite useful. He was wonderful, bright, active, and energetic, Meru recalled. He would ask for things to do after finishing what was given to him. When we were leaving, we wanted to bring him to Merzad, but Baba advised against it, as these mountain people don't do well in the hot climate of Ahmednagar, and he had his family there. The food expenses for those remaining in Mandri Mafi came out of a fund which had been kept aside with Meherji, one of the arrangement wallahs. Nadra tried to economize by not ordering costly items from the bazaar. They subsisted mainly on plain rice and dal and one vegetable, cauliflower, beets, or turnips, in the evening. As a further measure of economy, Nadja chopped up the green tops and outer leaves of these vegetables and made an ersatz spinach with masala. Dilip took the food to the men in their hut. At the time, Nilu was puzzled and asked Vishnu, "What kind of spinach are you bringing from the bazaar?" "Spinach?" Vishnu replied. "I didn't buy any spinach." After a month, when Nilu had the opportunity to ask her, he remarked, "I can't tell what kind of vegetable this is. I've been a vegetarian all my life, but I've never tasted anything quite like it." "What is it?" "It's the best kind of spinach," she informed him, "very healthy for you. All the leaves of cauliflower, beets, and turnips." Exasperated, Nilu could only wonder and lament. "When will Baba return? May he come soon. Only then will we have some decent grub, not these insipid wastes." Naja fed us a lot of gravy and a few bits of potato, Mehra recalled. So Nilu would wait for Baba. "When Baba comes, we will have better fare," he said continually. Only when Baba returned, Nilu felt, did Naja serve them proper meals. Maybe someone else would like to read now?
Sure. Eva, are you available? Yeah. And um, speaking of the spinach Naja made, the beet greens are the most nutritious type of greens I've read. Also,
Sure.
Let me see. I need to make this bigger here. Um, Whenever Baba visited from Moti Chur, Naja indeed cooked something nicer, and the men companions were happy he had come and wished he would move back to Manjiri Mafi. Meru recalled that one time they had another windfall in Manjri Mafi. It happened when the caravan was being moved to the women's area. Goher was giving directions and standing under a papaya tree, and because the caravan was quite high, it hit the branches of the tree, and a shower of green papayas fell on her head. We didn't know what was happening. Suddenly, Goher let out a yell, and shortly afterwards came running to the kitchen, looking happy with her load of papayas and saying, "Naja, Naja, this is something you can cook." And it was quite good the way Naja cooked it, Merus added. Some were half ripe, Mehera noted, and those are very good to cook. Besides having gripes about the food, Vishnu and Nilu also complained about the water from the recently constructed well. It smelled foul because of the rain, so they arranged so they um so they arranged for drinking water. Uh, this keeps moving.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Here we go.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Bottom paragraph.
Okay, thanks. Eugene, I'm pushing it to make it larger, but then it falls back again.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can make it bigger to your liking.
Okay.
Um, I'll bring it up to. Is that more
Yeah, that's good.
visible?
Thank you. Yep, yep, thank you. Let's see. I further down, I think.
Oh, it should be.
Besides
Let's see.
having gripes about the food, Vishnu and Nulu also complained about the water from the recently constructed well. It smelled foul, and because of the rain, so they arranged for drinking water for themselves from another well. When Baba returned from Mordechur for the first time on 11 March, he rebuked them. When the women drink this water, why don't you? This is disobedience to my orders, and both of you should rub your noses on the ground as punishment. Kumar and Gohir happened to be there, and Vishnu and Nilu were humiliated, but did as Baba ordered. Baba scolded Naja too, because she mentioned two persons in the old life when Baba asked her something contrary to his orders. Naja did not know for how long she had been called and thought that perhaps Kitty and Rano might be called in her place. Meru explained Naja was a little upset that she might be sent away, and she said, but Kitty and Rano have jobs, meaning that they were not free to come in her place. Baba was very disturbed and said, you've broken my order by even mentioning this. Naja was ordered to return to Bombay, but then Baba forgave her, warning, don't let it happen again. In the meantime, Baba and the men companions in Mordechur had been living on one meal a day. Baba and Gustaji had rice and dal, and the others dal and chapatis. Kumar's 19-year-old servant, Satyapal, was their cook. Besides the existing cottage in Montechur, tents had been erected for some of the men, and a grass seclusion hut for Baba, who was again setting an example for the men by humbly doing menial work, sweeping his hut, washing his clothes, cleaning his utensils, plate, and commode, and so forth. As a further example of the humble seeker or devotee, Baba had gone to the Kumbh Mela to search out holy men so that he could lay his head on their feet, or at times touch their feet with his hands. Four of the men, Pendu, Baidul, Erich, and Gustaji, accompanied him. Pendu kept a record of the exact number of contacts made. All of the holy men were called Mahatmas, great souls, regardless of their spiritual attainments or lack of them. On the first day, Baba contacted 91 men in 5 hours, and on 10 March, 135 in 5 hours. But each sojourn proved to be more and more exacting. Baba explained that he was contacting each holy man only once, not twice, and with this one physical contact, he would bestow such a gift unto them, which they would not have gained after centuries of penance and austerities. On 11 March, Baba took the women from Mehera-Meher to Motachur, 32 miles away, in a rented station wagon to see where he was staying. Mehera recalled, "We were so cold while traveling. At Motachur there was one big room, bare except for Baba's rolled up bedding. Baba showed them the grass hut where he was doing seclusion work and took them around the area. The women were driven back the same evening, while Baba stayed in Motachur with the men. On 15 March, despite pouring rain, thunder, and lightning, and having had only a single cup of tea in the morning, Baba and the 4 men tracked through a mountainous area, making many contacts. They returned exhausted, but the next day Baba went out again. After a few more days of continuous contacts, Baba began to complain of pain in his eyes. On 19 March, Baba made 113 contacts and said that he had a constant backache from bending over so much. He was becoming ever more weak and exhausted, and his eyes felt grimy and sandy. The following day, he returned unexpectedly to Mehera-Meher to celebrate the Persian New Year, Jamshed-e Navaz, with the women. Due to the nature of this work, Mehru commented, Baba returned to Mehera-Meher with a severe cold and bronchitis. After a few days' rest and recovery, again he went back to Motachur to continue his work. On the Persian New Year, it is traditional for Zoroastrians to have a cold glass of faluda, a sweet drink made from the water of soaked wheat. Even though the weather was cold and damp, Mehera and Mehru were determined to make it. "Never mind that it's raining and cold," said Mehera. "We must make faluda no matter what." She and Mehru stirred the mixture over the fire in their tiny grass hut kitchen. Then it started pouring down rain. Just as they finished, the ceiling became leaking. "It was quite funny," Mehera recalled. "What with the leaky roof, making faluda, dodging the drops so the rain wouldn't get in the drink. Baba wasn't there then, but he came back soon afterwards, and we told him about it. When Baba returned to Hardwar on 22 March, it was again an overcast. Oh, and sidebar, the ocean, the cream of, oh, there's 2. The holiday is celebrated on the vernal equinox of 21 March. The cream of wheat is cooked, then stirred in a colander form, forming drops in cold water in a vessel beneath it. These drops are mixed with milk and rosewater syrup."
It sounds like a horchata drink that the Mexicans make from
Oh, sounds good.
grains. Yeah, so happy vernal equinox, happy Zoroastrian New Year.
Yeah.
Okay, next page.
You missed a line.
Okay.
When Baba returned to Hardwar on 22 March, it was again an overcast and stormy day, with the bitter wind whipping down from the Himalayas as it did throughout his stay. Nevertheless, over the next 5 days, Baba contacted almost 4,000 souls. On 30 March, the gusty Himalayan winds made the temperature drop to below freezing. Everything was already damp, so walking was treacherous on the wet grass and rock, and Baba had a severe backache besides. But at the crack of dawn, he started out with his 4 companions for contacts in Hardwar. After a full day of grueling nonstop contacts, weak from exertion, he returned to Motachur that night at a slow gait with heavy steps. Despite crushing fatigue, Baba contacted 500 more souls the next day. After his contacts on 1 April, Baba indicated that he would be content with the total of 7,000, but more pleased if the number exceeded it. The total was now 6,697, with Baba pushing his state of exhaustion to a point of collapse. He said his eyelids felt heavy and his stamina appeared sapped. On 3 April, however, leaving in the blackness of pre-dawn, Baba contacted an overwhelming 2,965 souls in a single day. On that day, thousands of ascetics and hermits of the most austere type were sitting in circles on both sides of the Ganges River. Exerting himself to a near breaking point, Baba did not miss even one. At the end of 11 hours, he could barely stand and wanted to take a truck or bus back to Motachur, but none was available. He and the companions trudged wearily back to Motachur, where Baba lamented, "My whole body is aching terribly." Incredible as it seems, overcoming his physical exhaustion, Baba went out again the next day and contacted 338 more souls. The total number now reached 10,000, and Baba was highly gratified. They returned to Murchur, and Baba announced, "My work at the Kumbh Mela is over. I will leave for Manjiri Mafi tomorrow." And the sidebar, Lord Meher Online, page 2899 to 22901. The four men with Baba estimated later that out of the 10,000 souls contacted, only 8 were true saints. And Eugene, I will pass the reading on to you.
Oh, thanks, Eva. Ask Frederick if he'd care to read again.
I'll ask, he's in another room, so maybe you could start.
Yeah, go ahead and ask him. Oh no, you're crippled with your um, hip replacement.
You have a lovely voice. I'll ask him if you want to stop reading after a while.
Okay. So, Baidul urging Shastri care a must to accept prasad from Baba. Pune, 22 May 1951. Picture by Padri. Oh, that's sweet. An old must or saint blessing Baba. That's a rare example of Mehra's signature on a letter written by Erich from Baba's dictation to Mahatma Gandhi's disciple. So, we, the undersigned, give free to Inira Benji, Raja, our English-bred bull, for any use she likes. Our only condition is that she should not sell Raja. Signed Mehra Jahangir, Mani Shariar, Goher Rustam, and Mehru Rustam. So Mehru spells her name in English Mehru. Chapter 100, Rundown Health. 2 months earlier, in February 1950, a few weeks after first arriving in Dehradun, Baba had, for some unknown reason, expressed the wish for two young goats to be brought from Haridwar. Satyapal and Baidul were sent there in February to bring water from the Ganges and to purchase, if possible, two goats of a certain type. Baba bathed with the Ganges water on 2 occasions before going to the Kumbh Mela. They had been unsuccessful in finding the goats, but in Mandri Mafi one day, Mani fashioned a small goat out of cloth. It looked like a newborn goat, and she used it to play a trick on Kumar's mother, Mataji, who looked after Kumar's goat next door. Mani put it in a hedge, and then the other four women stood around, pretending that it was a real goat. They called to Mataji, "Look, your goat has given birth to a baby." Mataji wondered how that could be when she knew the goat was not even pregnant. Nevertheless, she was taken in at first, and everyone had a hearty laugh. Mani played a trick on Goher also, who was terrified of insects. One night, after all were in bed, the women heard Goher scream. When they went to see what calamity had befallen, Goher said something like, "There's a cockroach on my bed." She even made a ruckus over beetles. So Mani made a lizard out of flour and water and placed it on Goher's cot. Goher thought it was real and disinfected her bed. They put the fake lizard in a cardboard box and showed it to Baba when he came, and he took it to the men. Mani had made it so well that everyone was fooled and thought it was a dead lizard. While Baba was at Modichur, Mani decided to have some further fun with Goher on April Fool's Day. Since the area was full of sadhus going to the Kumbh Mela, she plotted, "I'll dress up like a sadhu and come in the dark and frighten her." She told Mehera, Meru, and Naja, "You all pretend to be afraid and then push Goher in front." That night, Mani wrapped a dhoti around her waist and painted on a mustache. Her deception was aided by the darkness, and Mehera shouted on cue, Goher, come quickly! Somebody is coming in our compound!" It was Goher's responsibility to look after the women, especially in Baba's absence, and she stepped outside and saw a form approaching their cottage. "Ram, Ram, Ram," Mani chanted in a deep voice. "Who's there?" Goher asked. "Ram, Ram, Om Parabrahma." Alarmed, Goher rushed forward, shouting, "Here, here, don't come near. Don't take one step closer. Go away." "Bhiksha, Bhiksha, my Bhiksha." "We have no Bhiksha. Now go away this instant." The others were clustered in the open doorway of the cottage, trying to stifle their laughter. As Mehera recalled, we were standing behind Goher because after a few moments, we couldn't stop laughing. She didn't realize we were laughing behind her back. "Go to the men!" Goher shouted. "You'll get no Bhiksha here. I'll shut the door in your face." But Mani kept coming closer and closer. If you come any closer, I'll strike you, Goher threatened, and then she said to the others, if worst comes to worst and we have to fight him hand to hand, at least he looks like a skinny beggar. Mani and the others were becoming a bit scared by Goher's threats, and Mara started to come forward and explain things. No, Mara, Goher warned. Don't come out. But Mara said, it's only Mani. At last, Goher recognized her in the costume, and she too joined in the laughter. The Kumbh Mela was still underway when Baba finished his work. The most significant day would occur 10 days later on 13 April. Baba planned to take the women to see the great procession of sadhus to the Ganges. In the meantime, however, Baba had become ill, and when he returned to Mandri Mafia on 5 April, he had a bad cough, 100-degree fever, heaviness in the eyes, pain in the stomach, and a severe backache. Goher, Nilu, and Dawn all treated him, but his body aches did not diminish until 2 days later, when Mara suggested a light massage and a hot bath. The heaviness in his eyes, along with the scratchy feeling he had complained of earlier, was conjunctivitis, an infection that Goher speculated Baba had contracted when he bowed down to the sadhus and put his hands on their feet. Mara recalled it was very serious. Baba's eyes were very red. It is perhaps ironic that Baba and the companions were helped to begin their pilgrimage to the Kumbh Mela by doctors Nath and Kar, both eye doctors. But by the time Baba finished his work there, his own eyes were seriously affected. Later, Baba would refer to the first year of the new life as an eye opener. Moreover, the physical action of bowing down to so many thousands had its own deleterious effect. Not only did it give Baba a backache then, but in later years the pain would become chronic. Dr. Ram Ginde, a neurosurgeon from Bombay, once remarked after examining Baba's x rays, I can see that Baba's pain is actually due to wear on top of the vertebrae in his neck, which has resulted in a narrowing of the channel through which the spinal cord passes. This type of wear I can only account for by Baba's having bowed down for so many years to so many people's feet that it actually wore those bones out. Frederick, are you available?
Sorry, Eugene, he isn't.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for trying. Um,
I love the way you read that.
oh, cool. Um, Deb, are you ready to read again?
Yes, I can read again.
Awesome.
Um,
So it's from Yet It Was Baba's Compassion. Second paragraph at top of the page.
okay, I'm looking for it in the book. Oh, okay, found it. Yet it was Baba's compassion that prompted him to do this work and bear the consequent suffering. As the avatar, Meher Baba took upon himself the sanscaras of others, and through them humanity's. Whatever he did during the new life, Meru noted, was much less than what Baba took on himself. Not only did he work, but he took on so much suffering. Baba returned to Kumbh Mela on 12 April with the 5 women companions, Frani, Nalavala, Sera Chacha, another local lover, Subhadra, and baby Amrit. At first, the women did not want to take Subhadra, as they thought her baby might disturb Baba. But Baba said both should come. Subhadra and Amrit were driven with the other women from Mandri Mafi to the train station where they met Baba. The platform was swarming with passengers when they arrived, and Kumar came over to ask Baba something. He had a glimpse of Mehera and the other women companions, the first and only time he saw them during this period. Changing their plans, instead of journeying by train, Baba and the women were driven to Hardwar in a station wagon. They stayed in a large house or hotel owned by Sansar Chand Gohal, who also owned the cottage where Baba and the men had stayed in Moti Chur. The building had a terrace from which the women were able to view proceedings along the banks of the Ganges River. Kumar and Erich guarded the staircase so that no one went up while they were there. The women had been concerned about little Amrit, but she was always smiling and laughing. With tea that day, Baba gave each of the women 2 biscuits. After Subhadra had tasted a small amount of prasad, she fed the rest to her baby. It was the first solid food Amrit ever had. Baba, sleeping in a separate room with one of the Mandali, and the women passed a fitful night, but it was not because of the baby. When the rest of the men companions arrived the next day, Baba told them, I and the women had absolutely no sleep last night, as there was such a great bedlam and noise outside at the sadhus' camps. It lasted the whole night. Water was brought from the Ganges that morning. Baba had specified that the water be brought from a particular spot further up the river. Mehera heated it, and Baba bathed with it. As he had done previously, he ordered that the leftover water be poured back into the Ganges. He then had the men companions stand before him in a line, and before touching the feet of each man, Baba directed Don to read out a prayer of forgiveness. Returning to the women, Baba asked Subhadra if she, like the thousands of other Hindu pilgrims, intended to take a dip in the holy Ganges. Subhadra did not know at the time that Meher Baba was God, yet something made her reply, Baba, since you are here, what is the use of going there? It is sufficient that I am with you. Even babies were taken into the cold water of the Ganges by their parents, and Mehera said, just watching them made me feel cold. We were on the terrace, and right below us was the river. Along the river was a dirt road along which the sadhus were going. Baba said we couldn't go near, that we must see from the terrace because of the great crowd. He said we could get carried away. Mani noticed, it's impossible to describe what we saw, the unbelievable mass of humanity, millions of devoted Hindus from all over India congregated at the banks of the river Ganges, bathing in the sacred water to wash away their sins, praying, ringing bells, chanting, singing. We women watched from the terrace of a hotel, Goers Hotel. The proprietor gave us the use of his terrace to watch from, but he was not allowed to see Baba. He was asked only to see that Baba and we might stay on the terrace and watch the occasion undisturbed. The river was just before us with all the people around it. It was an absolutely solid mass. Floating down the river were tiny leaf boats carrying flowers and oil lamps. It was all very colorful and noisy, and yet very simple and exciting at the same time. We were disappointed, however, that we could see very little of the magnificent procession of sadhus and elephants, and so on, going by a short distance from where we were. Perhaps it was just as well, however, as Baba commented. There are naked sadhus on elephants, so it's good you women can't see them. Mani continued, the poor men companions had a hard time below us amidst the crowds and were disgusted with it all. Baba sent messages to them whenever anything needed to be attended to. Baba was displeased with the arrangement on the terrace, which was not to his satisfaction. I don't remember exactly what the cause was, but Baba was upset. He sent messages to tell Gohal, the proprietor of the hotel, that he was displeased. This meant that something had happened which made the work he was doing at the time unsatisfactory. But in a short while, as usual, the whole matter evaporated and all was serene. Only Baba can do that. Because they could not see much from the balcony and had not slept well the night before, Baba and the women decided not to stay another night at the Kumbh Mela as planned, but returned to Mandri Mafi immediately. Mani continued, as we were leaving the place, Baba was walking with us women. We saw the proprietor standing silently some distance away. Baba told me to go and tell him that Baba was greatly pleased with him and the service he had rendered, and that Baba asked his forgiveness for having been angry with him. I went to give the message. To carry an apology from Baba is in itself difficult, to say the least, but when I looked at the proprietor's face, it became tremendously more difficult. He stood there, hands joined, eager for Baba's message. I quickly started what I had to say, but when I came to the apology, the poor man just bowed his head and did not look up. He could not. He was obviously so humble and ashamed. I'm sure he could have wished for the earth to open and swallow him up. Baba met the men met Baba and the women at the train station and all boarded an already overcrowded train. In their packed compartment, however, somehow 2 passengers were pushed out of the way, and the women managed to secure a place for Mehera, telling her not to get up. Did you have something you wanted to say?
But oh no, it's just funny what you're reading. Yeah.
Yeah. The other women had to stand. After a few minutes, Mehera stood for a moment to tell someone something. When she looked back, her seat was occupied, and she too had to stand the rest of the journey. They did not reach Mandri Mafi until midnight. After their return from Hadwar, Raja, the English bull, was donated in the name of the 4 women companions to an institution, and the bullock cart sold. So that's referring to the note, Jean, that you read. That was
Yeah,
signed
right.
by Mehera. And the institution was like the Mahatma Gandhi organization, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi's disciple. Since Baba had originally wanted the animal bread, Kumar had tried to give it to Mirabain, Mahatma Gandhi's English disciple, who had established a vivarium nearby. I don't know what that word means. Anybody know? All
Mm. Buddha's hanging. Yeah.
right. It's Vivarium. But as her institution had stopped accepting English bulls for breeding purposes, she eventually refused. Mehru speculated that they did not sign their last names to the agreement for political reasons, being so soon after independence, it was better not to be identified as Iranis, who were considered as having been generally sympathetic to the British. Mirabai was traveling with Gandhi when he met Baba on the Rajputana in 1931. As seen from the illustration on page 512, the agreement letter to Mirabai was one of the very rare times that Baba allowed Mehera to sign her name, other than legal documents when required. The well water at Mandri Mafi had now begun to stink, and the drinking water was being carried from a considerable distance. Describing their state, Nilu wrote, lack of proper food, clothing, insufficient quantity of good water, of hygiene, and add to them the semi-privations, starvation diet, physical and mental tension, and exhaustion due to strenuous labor, coupled with continuous chilly, windy, wet, monsoon-like weather during the 6 months of the new life, had run down Baba's and his companion's health. Besides his eye infection, Baba suffered from back and neck aches, kurza, inflammation of the nasal mucous membranes, and a chronic cough. All of the women except Mehera had influenza. Crowded into one tiny 3-room hut, the infection had quickly spread. Soon after, Vishnu also fell ill with high fever, and the men companions too had many other ailments. Staying at Mandri Mafi would be impractical during the summer, so Baba decided that he and the women would move into Don's clinic in Dehradun. Don was close to the clinic anyways, was to close the clinic anyways because of a lack of patients. New plans were to come into effect, whereby the men would shift to Delhi and start some business there.
Deb, by the way, a vivarium is an area usually enclosed for keeping and raising animals or plants.
Uh-huh. Thank you for looking that up. Yeah. This is a really great chapter. The next chapter is business ventures. Yeah, I remember it. It's great. Anyways, somebody else would like to read? Oh, it's 3:34. Is that time to?
Oh, we started a bit late, so we'll go on a little bit too. Eva, are you ready to read again or?
I actually have to leave now.
Okay, be that way.
Oh, sorry.
No, just kidding. No, that's all right.
I'll be reading Deb. Hey, Baba.
J Baba,
Hey,
Eva.
Baba.
Yeah. So, chapter 101, Business Ventures. On 1 May 1950, Baba and the men companions woke in the darkness at 4 a.m. and, wearing their white kafnis and green turbans, went out to beg for the last time. Boy, that's assuming that people are awake then to beg from. The begging phase, along with the Langodi and gypsy phases, was over for them. Now they must do the labor phase. Baba alone would do the other three, he said. To celebrate the inauguration of the new plan, Mani wrote, a sweet dish is served, and the men have their hair cut at last. 10 days later, the men companions moved to Delhi, where they started a ghee business. Baba, with the 5 women, Baidul and Vishnu, moved to Dehradun into Don's now defunct dispensary. The house had no furniture, and they, Baba included, slept in their beddings on the floor. The women recalled that the house was away from the road, with a small compound and a painted wooden grill on the front veranda, through which they could see people coming on the road without being seen themselves. As their contribution to the labor phase, the women sat on the veranda and made useful household articles that could be sold. Mani, for instance, made a lamb and other animals out of towel material, similar to the goat she had made to fool Kumar's mother, while Mehera knitted. And the sidebar says small hot pads were fashioned also. All four women knitted squares for a patchwork quilt, which were then crocheted together on a stand like table. Some of the patches were even embroidered using soft thread from Nariman's dye company. The threads were used to darn their socks as well. As mentioned, the Nalavala family lived across the street, and at first, Franny was allowed to visit them in the evenings with her children. Later, the Nalavalas came less frequently, only when Baba called. Her young son, Naoshirwan, was cute, well behaved, and talkative. Subhadra also bicycled from Mandri Mafi to visit. Once Baba gave her a hat to wear on her return, as she had to cycle in the sun. As he had with Kumar and his family, Baba became more involved in the personal and household affairs of the local Baba lovers. On 17 May, Baba took the women to see a circus that had come to town. But while in Dehradun, Baba's conjunctivitis became worse. His eyes swelled and discharged a sticky substance. Goher took Baba to a specialist, Mehera recalled, but he gave Baba some kind of medicine which made his eyes worse. It was penicillin ointment, Meru stated. Baba got a very bad reaction from that, making his eyes even worse than they had been. It was really so terrible. You couldn't even look at Baba without tears coming to your own eyes. And the sidebar says, we have the most awful 7 days of our lives during Baba's eye treatment. Mani wrote in her diary on 29 May 1950, for poor Baba suffers so much. The condition persisted until mid-June, when Baba and the women moved from Dehradun to Satara. With great difficulty, Mehera said, his eyes got well. While Baba was suffering thus in Dehradun, the men were sweltering in the Delhi heat, which was bad enough, but they were also boiling cream to make ghee. They had been staying in Mandri Mafi when it was bitter cold, Bao later noted. Now, when the weather there was at its most salubrious, they were in Delhi, sweating uncomfortably in the scorching month of May, working next to hot stoves. Poor things. Wow. Baba went to Delhi on 23 May to see the companions. Since the men were not able to sell the ghee at a profit, Baba decided to move back to Maharashtra. Erich was sent to find a suitable bungalow in either Satara or Aurangabad, or further south in Hyderabad. Baba returned to Dehradun, where the women had been busy. During Baba's absence, Mani recalled, we women sewed and made a number of things to sell as our part of earning and doing constructive work. We did applique work and made lovely bedspreads. We got 200 rupees profit for 2 months' work. The things we did turned out beautifully, but Unfortunately, we had to sell them. Surprisingly, it was thus the women rather than the men who had actually made a profit, albeit small, in a new life venture, a side business that required no major investment. They had sold useful handmade articles, produced cheaply in the home, and while doing so, they had kept the spirit of the new life by working cooperatively and lovingly throughout for the good of all. When the man's outside manufacturing company had collapsed, the women had even made up the deficit from their own reserve money, which they had conserved by living frugally and eating simply. So the men would now be employed by the women and even receive their food through them, however much or whenever given. Baba had humbly done menial chores, traditionally women's work, providing a good example for the men who were required to do this work also. He had also insisted that the men keep a cheerful mood and be sensitive to the feelings of others, especially to him, their beloved. When he did become vexed with the men because of their attitudes, he apologized and begged their forgiveness in case he had hurt their feelings. On one occasion, Baba had taught Kumar not to abuse his wife when Kumar was angry. But when Baba had become angry with the men, he directed them to abuse and even slap him. Baba's eye condition had improved somewhat, but afterwards he came down with mumps. On 3 June, Dawn and Nilu were called from Delhi for 5 days to treat him. The women also suffered a lot physically in the new life. For instance, 3 days before they were to leave Dehradun, Mani had a serious case of food poisoning and could have died. She nearly passed out. It was so bad, Mara remembered. Rolf, are you able to read? Do you want to? It's from the bottom sentence or partial sentence on page 520. You have to unmute first.
Sorry about that. Mani began having continuous diarrhea and vomiting and was unable to eat or drink anything. Baba held out a spoonful of orange juice to her, saying, "You must swallow this." He forced her to sip it and then gave her some drops of ice cold water. Goher and all of us were up all night. Mara continued. Every half hour, Goher gave saline to prevent dehydration. Meru held the bottles while Goher administered them. The situation was so serious that another doctor was even summoned. Baba was not disturbed that night, but informed the next morning. It took another day or so before Monty was able to retain any fluids. Baba continued to feed her orange juice, sip by sip, and she gradually improved. With a lot of nursing and taking great care, we brought her around. Then Franny Nalavala told us of a very effective Indian medicine, a home remedy, and with it all, Monty got well. With it all, and with it all, Monty got well. Of course, it mm, it must have been by Baba's grace that Monty recuperated. Before Monty was fully recovered, however, They had to pack and journey by train to car, had to pack and journey by train and car to Satara. Goher gave Mani an injection so that she was able to travel. We had been going
Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button again.
to fire the projectionist.
Yeah. Oh, darn, I hit it again. Ugh.
You need to give you some of that home remedy.
Mm. I wonder what it was. I wish they said what it was.
With a lot of nursing and taking great care, we brought her around. Then Franny Nalvala told us of a very effective Indian medicine, a home remedy, and with it all, Monty got well. Oh, we already read that. Forgive me. Oh, we'll keep going. Of course, it must have been by Baba's grace that Monty recuperated. Before Monty was fully recovered, however, they had to pack and journey by train and car to Satara. Goher gave Monty an injection so that she was able to travel. We had been going to leave earlier, Mara noted, but we had to delay a day or two till Monty felt strong enough. By the time we arrived in Satara, however, she was quite all right. I think that looks like Karim Baba, his seventh playing month.
Mm. A robust looking fellow, huh?
I think.
Cheerful. Yeah.
And and you see the photograph, if that's him, the photograph of him in the Wayfarers, he's got all kinds of wires all over. He's embedded, wrapped up in this huge skein of all kinds of wires and stuff.
Mm.
Bowing to a Bombay must, bidual right, date unknown, doesn't say. It looks at least similar to the man,
Mm-hmm.
Karimba. They called him a tiger must. He was very fiery. Eh, Wayfarers. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Uh,
And
Mehera-Meher. Oh, look at that nice.
embroidery
That's
with,
lovely.
yeah. Well, that's an unusual frame.
Baba,
Clo-
my own true love. Wonder who's that made those.
Probably Mer yeah.
Mehera says, done with Khorshid.
Does it say?
Yeah, it does. Says examples of Mehra's embroidery skill done with Khorshid, Upper Mehrabad, 1930s.
Lovely. What nice. Uh, how much consideration was given to the colors. Look at all the colors. That was very nice. Examples of
So this looks like a good place to stop at the beginning of chapter 102, Old Life Disciples. We'll pick up there next week. And for now, we'll stop the recording.